Welcome back. Here, in this portion of 1320 time stream, we're going to be covering the affirmation or code spell for the red overtone dragon. So here we go. I empower in order to nurture, commanding being. I seal the input of breath or birth. I seal the input of birth with the overtone tone of radiance. I am guided by the power of universal water. Okay. Let's give a small translation here. I empower in order to nurture. The energy of nurturing is going to come from our empowerment, from that bringing of the power. The light switch is on, the water is in the plant, the nurturing begins to occur. In some way, we could say that we're helping pick up the energy of a friend. Maybe they need some love, some nurturing, and that comes from, oh, you can do it, right? We're breathing life into something. And this is the power, the energy of that empowerment. Perhaps you're creating some content, you're doing a project. If you want to really nurture it today, empower it, put some energy into it, cultivate it. Commanding being. This commands the being of it. It commands it to be. The more we empower this thing, the more it is nurtured. And that commands its state of being. It defines it. It tunes it. It brings it life. It becomes recognized. It recognizes itself. It is recognized by others. It begins to steep in the quality of recognition. I empower in order to nurture, commanding being. I seal the input of birth with the overtone of radiance. The input. As far as the 5 time cells go, we are back to the beginning, which is the input. We just finished the matrix in the other 4 days of our videos. So the input is just that. It is the first time cell. The input or initiation of energy. In this case, the energy that is getting initiated is birth. And I seal the input of birth. Birth is coming into with the overtone of radiance. And so I empower in order to nurture, commanding being. In some way, that's like a seed state. Empower in order to nurture. It's like a developmental consciousness. The commanding of being, it's like locking the matrix into that cell. I seal the input of birth with the overtone of radiance. And as it begins to radiate, as it begins to grow, it then starts to affect the collective consciousness. Maybe personal behavior becomes group behavior. In this case, in the seed analogy, the seed itself is nurtured by the water, and that's that radiance. Or sorry, the radiant effect is in a second, that's an empowerment. That empowerment and nurturing starts to allow that seed to birth. And it becomes the flower, which is its radiance. Or it's like the collective consciousness begins to be affected by that empowerment, by kind of that seed effect. I seal the input of birth with the overtone tone of radiance. So let's radiate that initial empowerment, that commanded empowerment, that embodiment. Engaged in that positive state of growth allows it to birth and radiate. And I am guided by the power of universal water, which I feel is really saying that this is guided by the flow. It's not guided by force. And I feel this is very important to bring a clarity here, because as we touched on before, the overtone, which is like a tone of power, can easily, because of our civilization and the memes and the way we've been taught to embody, overpower things. We can be a little full of bravado or even domination if we so ignorantly overstep. The signifier is saying, hey, slow down, slow down. Let's wait till others can participate and share in what you're offering. So I'm guided by the power of universal water, that depth, that flow. There's also a sensitivity there. So it's like that willful power is being tempered by the flow state energy. I empower in order to nurture, commanding being. I seal the input of birth with the overtone of radiance, and I am guided by the power of universal water. I will leave that there, and that'll be the code spell or affirmation section of this episode of 1320 Time Stream. Stay tuned for the oracle section.